Hello, and welcome to a special edition of A Thought in Progress, subtitled I Have Something to Say. This is a special edition. This is a Martin Luther King Jr. Day edition. Little background. I find Martin Luther King Jr. Day a little bit triggering sometimes. Supposed to be a day of service, and many people treat it as such. I don't have the ambition or courage to get out there and do something good for my community. Maybe that's not the best way to word it, but yeah, it's a little bit triggering for me. And then I was reflecting on it with my therapist, and I've got to ask myself, well, why is that a good problem to have? And the answer is, if I feel guilt for not participating in the day of service, at the base of that emotion is that I'm a good person, that I care. Um, so, excuse me. That being said, uh, my way of contributing on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day is to do this video, continue the conversation. Hopefully, that you viewers can have that conversation with a safe, comfortable conversation with the people around you. I know that I'm a white male, so I'm at an intersection of power. That being said, I think I have a special obligation and duty to understand, you know, um, where that power comes from and do something positive with it by bringing to light uh, social inequities if I can. I have to do my part to understand, and I'll be completely transparent with you. I miss some of that. I don't do well with that sometimes. I'm kind of blind to my own position of power. I think a lot of people are. So I'm trying to do better to see it through more of an opaque lens and take a better look at myself, what I believe, what things am I adhering to, and how can I be a better person in general? Because we're people first, right? I'm a person first. I'm a human being first. I'm white and male after that. That's how I would hope to look at it. We're human beings first, then we're Christian, then we're Muslim, then we're Jewish. So if we get down to that base of being human, before any of the other characteristics come into play, I think we'd be a better society, and not as much injustice would happen because we would all realize that in fact we are part of the same human family. I think it's really important to realize that and widen our circles, our social circles, our um, widen your mind so that you're including more people. And that's uncomfortable. And I get that that's uncomfortable, but it's okay to be uncomfortable, and we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Um, yeah. So a little background on race in America, from my point of view, from what I understand. And then some things that I looked up on the internet following the training I did on identity trauma. Um, there's a lot of cultural trauma in this too. Um, um, so back in the early 1800s, there were slaves here in America. The common misconception is that the Civil War was fought to end slavery, and it was not. Um, it was more like we were expanding westward, and the southern factions of the country wanted to make those western territories um, slave territories, and then the northern states did not want to see that happen, as there would be a shift in the balance of power. And then there was a whole thing around states' rights and all that. Um, so that's a little bit of a background. Then the war began, um, and the only reason, really, and this might be hard for some of you to hear, But the only reason the slaves were freed is to give the northern states an advantage in soldiers. Um, it's not like Abraham Lincoln said, "Oh, slavery is such a horrible thing. Let's end it. Let's fight a war to end it." It was more like what they call interest convergence, where freeing the slaves would help the white majority in their fight against the southern states. And that's hard to hear. It's hard to hear. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to make known. It's hard to bring it to light. But it's not a conspiracy theory. It's what really happened, as far as I understand it. Um, on my channel, I try and espouse the truth as much as I can. I'm not always accurate, so I would invite the viewers to do some fact checking on what I just said and give me your version, um, while remaining civil, or sending me any comments or anything else. Um, so that's a bit of a background. Another thing I heard, and this really is just a theory. It's not really whether it's true or not. I don't know. But interest convergence also came into play with the desegregation of schools and society and so forth. Um, Apparently, the State Department at the time, back in the 60s and 70s, um, found out that America was being looked at poorly by the global community because of segregation, and so the white majority did not want that to be the case, so that they decided that if they wanted to be seen better in the global community, that they would work to desegregate. So again, it didn't have anything to do with the welfare of the people of color community. Um, it so that being said, can we as a culture come together and find out what's best for everyone equally, instead of this capitalism cutthroat BS that also factors into race? Really, it does, and politics and so forth. Um, and a lot of this stuff is flying under the radar. I didn't really know about stuff like replacement theory until I looked it up and I heard about it in the training. So I think as citizens of this great country, we really do need to take a look at ourselves and do some research, um, so that we don't get um, so that we can see the wolves among the sheep that are dressed as sheep. Okay, because there's a lot going on under the radar, that doesn't get talked about with stuff like replacement theory. I'm not going to go into it. I would invite you to look up replacement theory and critical race theory and any other theories on race that you could. It is kind of agreed upon now in a lot of different circles that race is a social construct and not biologically based. Um, I think when you talk about the definition of race, we're talking about a set of characteristics. The reason my skin is white or pink is because my ancestors grew up in the northern part of the globe, and so did not need protection from direct sunlight. The reason people have brown or black skin is because their ancestors started out in the southern part of the globe, in more tropical and sun-drenched areas, and so it needed protection of the skin, so their pigments were darker. Um, it's as simple as that. It really is. Um, Unfortunately, we have these endemic, systemic problems with race in our country, and I think across the globe. Um, and it plays out in economics, in social economic status. A lot of neighborhoods are still segregated, without while pretending not to be, especially here in Philadelphia where I am. And unfortunately, we say things and we try and get better and we try and be more inclusive and understanding. And the system, the system just kind of F's everything up because it's so entrenched in our justice system, social constructs. The very, what's the word for it? The very social contract, the very social contract that we have as people, especially in America, includes the systemic racism. And it's really hard to change that social contract into something more understanding and inclusive. So there's no easy answer. And when we try and make progress, because the system is already so skewed in certain directions, that progress is lots of times thwarted, if you will, unfortunately. So this video was just to kind of continue the conversation, help me not feel as guilty about not doing a day of service today with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit about my book. I'm still working on rewriting it so that we have a new installment for the series. You can still get the first and second series for 99 cents each, or read them on Kindle Unlimited for free. The third installment probably will be part of a paperback with all 3 installments. I'm going to then call the paperback the second edition, with bonus material and a bonus third installment included. And then the 2 installments that are already out on ebook will be considered the first editions. So please check that out. Please also check out my author's Facebook page. And be nice to yourself. And do something good for your neighbor. Thank you. Have a good day.